What's going on, guys, and welcome to my full spoiler discussion and breakdown of the Stranger Things Season 5 finale, The Right Side Up. This is the end, the final episode. The moment this entire show has been building towards for nearly a decade, and I'm just going to say it right up front. I adore this episode. I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series, and for me, a near perfect ending. Emotional, messy, indulgent, huge in scale, intimate when it needed to be, and completely unapologetic about loving its characters. I cried multiple times. I was locked in for the full runtime, and when that final shot hit, I genuinely sat there staring at the screen trying to process that it was over. This show has been a massive part of my life since season 1 dropped in 2016, and this finale felt like it understood exactly what it needed to be. What I'm gonna do in this review is walk through the episode in order, breaking down the plot and giving my thoughts on basically every major moment, decision, and character beat along the way. This is full spoilers, no holding back, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, click off now. But before we get into the actual breakdown, there's a few things you need to keep in mind going into this finale. Vecna, aka Henry Creel, has been positioned as the ultimate antagonist of the entire series, a psychic child twisted by trauma, obsession, and power, who now wants to merge Earth with the Abyss and remake reality in his image. The mindset once this distant, shadowy presence has evolved into a full-blown cosmetic entity tied into Vecna himself. Eleven's journey this season has been about more than just getting her powers back. It's been about choice, agency, and whether she's destined to be a weapon or allowed to be a person. And looming over everything is the military, still determined to control, exploit, and repeat the same mistakes that created all of this in the first place. The episode kicks off with Operation Beanstalk officially underway, and immediately the tension is unbearable. 11, Hopper, Kali, and Marie arrive at Hawkins' lab, knowing full well that this is likely the last time they'll all be together like this. 11 is about to get back into Brenner's nightmare tank, and the conversation between her and Hopper before she does is quietly devastating. Hopper is clearly suspicious of Kali's plan, and for good reason. He knows that the Number sisters fully intend to die to end this. 11 makes Hopper promise that no matter what happens, he won't pull her out of the tank until Henry is dead.
If it does go wrong, I need you to promise me you won't pull me out.
Hopper, in return, makes her promise that they'll deal with Dr. K in the military after they survive all this. The tragic brilliance of this scene is that neither of them truly believes that those promises will be kept, but they make them anyway because it's all they have left. It's a phenomenal scene and immediately sets the emotional stakes for the entire episode. At the same time, the rest of the group heads to the Upside Down radio tower to begin their ascent. There's a brief but really meaningful moment where Mike reassures Bud that they'll always be his best friend, and it's one of those lines that feels small in the moment but hits way harder once everything starts collapsing. Steve's plan relies on the tower needle lining up perfectly with one of the rifts as Vecna uses the 12 kidnapped kids to pull the Abyss closer to Hawkins, and almost immediately they realize that alignment isn't going to happen. There's no real backup plan here, just panic radio calls and a brutal ticking clock. Hopper radios in that 11 has 30 seconds to get into Vecna's mind and hit him hard enough to stop the Abyss before the tower is crushed and everyone on it dies. It's messy, frantic, and terrifying, and perfectly captures how this group always operates when things go wrong. By the time Hopper knocks 3 times on the tank, 11 and Kali are already inside Vecna's mind. They've pulled Max into the void and piggybacked directly into Henry's memories, landing back in 1959 Hawkins. The atmosphere here is incredible, eerie, nostalgic, and deeply unsettling. Max immediately starts trying to figure out the fastest route from this memory to the Creel house, where Henry is currently using the kids to move what is essentially a planet. They sprint through the theater, burst into the Creel dining room, and 11 finally gets her hands on Henry, ripping him away from his psychic vessel and hurling him through a window. It's an incredible moment full of suspense and desperation, but it takes just a little too long, and that delay has consequences. Back at the radio tower, the Abyss slams into the needle and everything goes to hell. The tower starts collapsing and Steve slips over the edge. For a brief moment, it genuinely looks like this might be how Steve Harrington dies, sacrificed by his own plan trying to save the world. And honestly, that would have been devastating beyond belief. Thankfully, Jonathan grabs him just in time and pulls him back up. They don't kiss, which is tragic, but the moment still works because it reinforces who Steve is, someone who will always put himself on the line for everyone else. With Vecna momentarily disrupted, the Abyss starts advancing and the group climbs through one of the rifts, fully entering Vecna's Chaos planet. At this point, they are straight up
interdimensional space travelers.
even Joyce and the crews. Back at the Creel house, Kali uses her illusion powers to hide the kids and expose Vecna for what he truly is. Max leads them into the wood toward the caves, which feels like a great payoff to her role this season. But Henry escapes into the physical world and reappears in the tank room at Hawkins' lab where Hopper is waiting. What follows is one of the most emotionally brutal scenes in the entire episode. Vecna attacks Hopper psychologically using his worst memories against him: Vietnam, Sarah's death, and the idea that 11 is doomed because of him. Hopper fires at Vecna in desperation, only to believe he's stopped through the tank and killed 11. When he realizes it's all been an illusion, that guilt and horror hit instantly. He rips 11 out of the tank to save her, unintentionally ruining the plan. The confrontation between Hopper and 11 afterward is absolutely phenomenal. 11 is furious because she believes this was her chance to end everything, even if it meant dying. Hopper refuses to accept that. He tells her that she deserves a future, that she is not responsible for Henry's existence, and that as long as she's alive, she's allowed to want more than just sacrifice. He refuses to detonate the C4 in the Upside Down until she's safe. The acting here is incredible, and this scene alone justifies the entire episode for me. Then, because things weren't already bad enough, the military makes their move. Dr. K tracks the group to the radio station. Akers and his team reach Hawkins' lab and chaos erupts. Hopper goes full Rambo. Murray saves the day by blowing up the helicopter with C4. And 11 unleashes absolute hell once the sound-dampening machine is destroyed. Unfortunately, in the chaos, Kali is shocked and dies. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really feel much here. I've never been particularly attached to Kali as a character, and while her death matters thematically for 11, emotionally it didn't hit me very hard. With no time to grieve, 11 realizes she's close enough to the abyss to jump. Her goodbye to Hopper on the roof of the lab is heartbreaking. She gives him Sarah's hair tie back, tells him what he's meant to her, and asks him to let her go. The montage of their moments together is devastating in the best way, and then she jumps. Meanwhile, the team on the abyss reaches Vecna's lair. The spider-like tree will saw through the hive mind. Inside Henry's memories, we finally learn the truth about his origin. The Mind Flayer entered him as a child, not controlling him but choosing him. And Henry chose it right back. They're partners, a symbiotic nightmare. And then comes the massive reveal. The lair isn't just a base, it is the Mind Flayer, the real one. Massive, physical, disgusting, and terrifying. Just as it looks like the entire group is about to be wiped out, a huge boulder smashes into the creature's face. 11 has arrived. What follows is an absolutely insane final battle. 11 rips the Mind Flayer's throat open, dives inside it, and tears Vecna away from his power source in one of the coolest sequences the show has ever done. Nancy offers herself as bait. The group ambushes the Mind Flayer with fire, screaming, "This is for Eddie!" and Will gains full control of his powers from inside Vecna's mind. And as awesome as that moment is, it's also too short. It's visually stunning, emotionally catastrophic, and thematically perfect, but it slides by so fast that you barely have time to sink in the weight of it. This is the culmination of 5 seasons of trauma, fear, and build-up, and the final destruction of Vecna deserved just a little more breathing room. I wanted more time inside Will's head as he finally overpowers the thing that's haunted him since season 1. I wanted to feel 11's rage and relief collide as he realizes it's finally over. I wanted the camera to linger on Vecna's fear, on the Mind Flayer collapsing, on the group truly understanding that the nightmare is ending. Don't get me wrong, the scene works. Powerful, satisfying, and earned, but because it's so good, it leaves you wishing it lasted longer, just a few more seconds to fully savor the victory, to let the moment hit as hard as it possibly could. Joyce finishing them off with a brutal catastrophe decapitation is the perfect final blow. And there it is, the moment they cross back into the MXZK Aceta trap. They pull out all the little kids and hold everyone else up. They want 11 and everyone knows it, but suddenly 11 is gone. She was in the truck, tucked away with Mike, but she's disappeared. It's Mike who spots her. She's standing just past the gate in the Upside Down. Mike knows what she's doing and he screams for her. It is chaos and tears as everyone begins to realize that Elle is sacrificing herself. 11 pulls Mike into the void for a gut-wrenching goodbye full of "Please don't do this. I will always be with you and I love you." Mike's "Please don't leave me" Elle as he holds her is especially devastating. We are all devastated. But if you were like me and you looked at the running time after all this went down and saw we still had 45 minutes of this episode to go. 45 minutes. What we get next is basically an entire TV TV episodes worth of epilogue. It is self-indulgent and cheesy, and also, so what? So fucking what? I, like the Duffer Brothers, love these characters too much and want to spend as much time with them as possible, okay? I get it, have all the hot takes you want, but I will eat the bowl of cheese Stranger Things is serving every time. It's 18 months later and Hawkins has healed, it's thriving. The class of 89, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, Will, Max is graduating that day. The 4 older kids, Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, Robin, are in town and they find themselves back on the roof of the squad, reminiscing. Steve is coaching the middle school baseball team, which includes Derek. Is a sex ed teacher and is very good at both. Jonathan's making pretentious anti-capitalism films at NYU. Nancy has dropped out of Emerson and took a job at a newspaper, seemingly too ready for the real world. Robin is easy breezy at Smith, but misses all of them so much. Everyone is crying as they remember what they mean to each other and promise to meet up once a month from now on. They toast to never keeping them apart. Joyce and Aubrey's date at Enzo's was worth the wait. She tells her he has been offered the chief of police position at Mutok. They could be closer to Jonathan and Will, who will both be in New York City. They could start over together. Hopper proposes, Joyce says yes. May these two sweeties never travel to Russia ever again. And what of our original party? Well, for starters, they graduate. Even Mike shows up as heartbroken over Elle as he is. It's a good thing too, because otherwise he would have missed valedictorian Dustin's epic speech, which starts out very breakfast clubby. Even though Stranger Things has literally never been about people from disparate groups come together, but rather simply the power of friendship. The speech though then veers into an awesome takedown of the man in confronty and ends with Dustin ripping open his gown to reveal a Hellfire's Lives t-shirt, one of the most awesome and fucking incredible moments the show has ever gave, as Mom is obsessed. Instead of going to Stacy's party that night, she is so hot for Dustin. Now the party ends up exactly where we first found them, playing a D&D campaign down in the Willow basement. The party's vicious, saved by the mage of course. It's a happy ending for all their characters in the game. But as Mike finishes their stories, we see those happy endings for them in real life too. Lucas and Max are the loves of each other's lives. Dustin excels in college and stays best friends with Steve. Will thrives in New York with a boyfriend and a new terrible haircut. Mike becomes a writer and tells their stories. He has a happy ending for 11 too. Because what if their mage didn't actually die? Those kryptonite machines were on. So how could she have used her powers to pull Mike into the void and then toss him out again? It would be impossible. But what if it was all part of the plan? What if, as Kali lie dying, she and Elle decided she could give 11 a better ending to her story? Mike theorizes that Kali didn't die right away. This seems impossible. She was bleeding a lot for a long time, right? And instead, from Hawkins' lab, tests an illusion to give 11 time to escape into the tunnels and then creates another one to make it look like Elle was in the upside down when it exploded. Instead of disappearing with the wormhole, we see 11 hiking in a far-off land and there are waterfalls. She is free. In tears they wonder if this could actually be true. Mike doesn't know for sure, but he is choosing to believe it. They all choose to believe. I guess friends don't lie except when they want to protect all the people they love and the rest of the world too. No one says, hey, Stranger Things could happen, and I bet that was a real struggle for everyone involved. Mike, Lucas, Dustin, Will, and Max put their D&D binders on the shelf and head upstairs for some of Karen Wheeler's lasagna. Just as they leave, Holly, Derek, and their friends come barreling down into the basement to start their own game. It's a passing of the torch. It is an acknowledgement that it's time to move on, to move forward. But it is all presented in Stranger Things' bittersweet, heartfelt way. The campaign is done, but the party's never really over. Overall, this episode is wildly overrated. It's emotional, indulgent, a little cheesy, and unapologetically sincere, which is not a flaw. It's the DNA of Stranger Things. That earnest, big-hearted swing is exactly what the show has always been about. It wears its emotions on its sleeve, and this finale refuses to be cynical or cool just for the sake of it. Instead, it commits fully to feeling something, and that commitment hit me hard. I cried more than once, not because it was manipulating me, but because it generally earned those emotions through years of character investment. Every major beat felt like it was there to honor these people we've grown up with. Their friendships, their trauma, their growth, and the love they have for each other. The show remembered what mattered, the characters first, the spectacle second. More than anything, it gave me real closure. Not everything is perfectly tied up, and that's okay. Life doesn't work that way. What it does give us is emotional resolution, a sense of peace, and the feeling that these characters will be okay beyond the frame. After spending so many years with this story, that's exactly what they wanted. This has been my favorite show of all time, and saying goodbye was never going to be easy. But this finale felt honest, heartfelt, and true to the soul of Stranger Things. It didn't betray what it was, it embraced it. For me, it was the right goodbye, an easy A+. What did you guys think of the finale? Did it work for you the same way it did for me, or did some of the choices not land? I'm really curious how everyone is feeling about the ending, the character arcs, the sacrifices, and whether you think this was the right way to close out Stranger Things after all these years. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I generally want to hear every take, even if you completely disagree with me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.